Time for another Patreon upload. So this one is on The Matrix Revolutions, the third Matrix movie. This, I think, means we've done all the Matrix films. We did, with the exception of the original. The original is perfect. It's one of the best films ever made. Oh man. I flip-flop between the fourth and the third as being the worst. I've kind of grown. The Reloaded's kind of grown on me a little bit. It's not good, but it's not the worst. Revolutions is just a giant mess. The whole movie feels like a third act. So we had a guy from a series called The Popcast, which we only did the one time with him, which is unfortunate. But we talked about the ins and outs. It was just me and Seth and our buddy from The Popcast talking about The Matrix Revolutions and how we could have made it better. The upload for this, for the Patreon element, is on the back end of the episode. It's a little bit, we talked about a series called Broken Saints, which I recommend. It is on YouTube at this point. It was a Flash animation series that was 11 hours long. Yes, it was 11 hours. But the Flash website has since been taken down because Flash is no longer supported. But all the episodes are up on YouTube. It's worth watching. It's long, but I recommend it, and how it also was inspirational, or it was inspired by The Matrix. Matrix Revolutions, I don't know what the thought process was behind this third one. I really am trying to wrap my brain around it because all the movie is just a giant action scene. There's next to no real plot. It wraps up all the plot threads of the second movie, but has no story in and of itself. I mean, you look at something like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, all those movies are independent of each other. You can watch them as their own independent thing. I mean, granted, they are one big trilogy, but they at least function individually as films in and of themselves. This Matrix trilogy, you have to watch all three back to back to back to understand what the hell is going on. It's very, very frustrating. And then you get to the fourth one, and we did the whole So What Else episode on that one. Go back and listen to the other episode that's in the archives on this. God, I'm really struggling to understand what the point was other than making money. But, oh well, this is the last of our Matrix episodes. So here is the Patreon cut of our film rescue of Matrix Revolutions. Enjoy. Welcome to the Film Rescue Show, here to discuss all of the mishaps and horrible misunderstandings of the film industry. I'm your host, Jesse. Today we have Seth.
Hello, I'm here and a little under the weather.
Hope is also, unfortunately, under the weather. I guess it's just that time of the year. But we
is.
have a guest with us today. We have Shane from the Popcast Brothers.
Close, the Popcast. We
The
are
Popcast.
the Popcast brothers, but we're
Yes.
the Popcast, or Popcast Unleashed, I guess, whatever
Yes.
you want. We got a bunch of weird stuff out there.
We
Good
only
to see
have
you guys.
we only have the one here with us today. But we have Shane with us. We're going to be discussing Matrix Revolutions from 2003, directed by the Wachowskis. I think this is the last of the Matrix material we have to cover. We've already done Reloaded. We chatted about Revolution, or was it Resurrections earlier on?
And we won't touch the first one because there's nothing to fix.
It's perfectly fine. It's
Perfect
perfectly
movie.
fine. So this is the last one. Maybe we could chat about Animatrix on a Two Whatever's Way Up episode, but there's
fun.
nothing to really fix with that one either. So here we are at the end of the trilogy. What was supposed to be the end of this series. I guess we should just start out with a little bit of background for all of us and our thoughts on the entirety of the trilogy. Let's go through it, Seth. What are your feelings on this trilogy as a whole?
All right, so
Pretending the fourth one doesn't exist at this point. Pretend it's 2003 and you just walked out of the theater.
2003
Well said.
just walked out of the theater. I'm a just green little 12 years old, and I'm so excited that they're making movies just for me now. So yeah, my entry point to this was I was kind of the demographic that grew up into the Matrix. Like I was not tracking with the message contained in the first one. I like kung fu. You know what I mean? Like that's why I liked these movies. And so my entry was as the test audience of that generation. So I'm endeared to this trilogy in that now that I'm older, I love what it's trying to talk about. And when I was younger, I loved what it was showing me. And so I've kind of I leave a little endeared overall, but again, I would think I was always supposed to from that era, just not having a brain about any of this kind of Heidi stuff. So as an adult, my take is I totally get the hate for 2 and 3. I'm glad we all kind of agree universally the first one's pretty bulletproof, and yeah, I'm happy to be kind of the positive voice for Reloaded and Revolutions on this. That'll be me.
Okay.
What about you, Shane?
Well, I got to tell you, I was 26 when the first Matrix movie came out, and to be honest with you, it had a huge impact on me. That moment when Neo comes up out of the pod, he takes the pill, and they find him, and he comes out of the pod, and I mean, I had no idea that's what we were about to watch. Yeah. And that was kind of the great thing about movies back then is, you know, nowadays it seems like we all know what's going to happen before we go there. But that was a true aha, wow moment. And for that reason and a lot of other reasons, it's probably one of my top 5 movies of all time still. When the second 2 parts came out in 2003, I was 30. And I was ready for more. You know, I'd been completely moved by the first movie, and I was expecting, I had high expectations for the second one. Second one was a weird movie. I know you guys probably talked about it, but there was a lot of really strange sexualization with the movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like a 10-minute gyrating dance scene with
the
sex.
dance club scene at the end, in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
That was weird.
You know, they had the orgasm at the table.
Yeah, I was going to say the
the
Merovingian
orgasmic cake.
The whole movie's sex.
Yeah. I wonder what the Wachowskis were going through at that time. You know, now that we know what we know about them, they're you go back and watch the movies and you have to say, well, what were they experiencing as they were making these movies? Because it changes quite a bit over the years,
right?
Especially in the fourth movie, right?
Yeah. I mean, they've since come out and said that the Matrix was about what was it? It's a metaphor for transgenderism.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
That's one of the ways it can be taken, right? Like that's our read with 2020 hindsight. At the time, I remember all the conversation was like based around like spiritualism and self-actualization and ego death and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, Neo is Jesus reincarnated. It's like they really were hammering that home.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think. I mean, I didn't see any trans issue, you know, with the first 3 movies, and maybe now looking back we can see a little bit of that, but it was really all about the things we talk about now, being, you know, AI taking over the world, and kind of my first real look at, you know, wow, okay, humans as batteries, that's badass. So, you know, it was just very very interesting, but I'm sure we have a lot to talk about with the release schedule and how the fact that they tried to release both movies in the same year, which was very strange, but I'll let you guys bring up the plot points.
Both these Reloaded and Revolutions came out the same year, and I was hyped for the second one when that was coming out, because I remember I saw that in the theater it was me, my mother, and my sister all saw it together, and everybody walked out. Like within the first 10 minutes, you could gauge what the audience was feeling.
Right.
With Reloaded, you could just feel like you could hear a pin drop in the theater. Like no one was really having a good time. Right. Everyone was kind of confused, and then you get to the architect scene, and everyone just completely emotionally checks out.
Yeah.
At that point, everyone was like, "Yeah, we give up. We don't even care." The third one is much more action oriented, and it's just backloaded with action. It's just like 3 action scenes back to back. It goes
through large segments of action and then large portions of like just exposition.
Yeah.
Where nothing's happening. It's like weird. There's times where I was like, literally, it's funny because Neo says something in here. He says, you know, he tells Trinity, "There's something I need to say," And I'm like, haven't you said that like 4 times this movie so far? And then
Yeah.
it goes into this long exposition.
Yeah, we'll get into that in negatives. So
Sorry.
So let's start out with some positives. Let's dig out some positives of this third movie. What do we think? What's a good one?
I really like I actually kind of liked Machine City. I thought the graphics were great. I liked how it felt big, like it should, you know?
the sort of undersea crustacean design and everything. Like everything was like an
little
animal.
little tiny robots running everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it was what I expected, I think.
Yeah.
It's different. It's different from the Terminator as much as it can be.
Yeah, it's not Tron, you know, it's very distinctly not been copied elsewhere. Like it kind of it's got like almost kind of religious imagery tied into it in places almost as if on purpose. And I've always all three of these, I think the set designs have been such a important aspect of it. Like even the clean train station that Neo wakes up in, like what a like visual push to give in your last movie of the trilogy.
Yeah, I think so. I think visually it's fine. You know, I've always wondered though. You guys ever wondered, you know, how did they get all the technology for this? You know, by the time you get to the end of the movie where they're in these, you know, aliens-esque, you know, human machines where they're fighting, which you didn't see the rest of the series, which I thought was weird.
Yeah.
You say to yourself, how the heck did they do all this and build all this while hiding from these robots? You know, hiding from the machines. And, and be able to build this giant, you know, society, I guess.
They never do address that.
Yeah.
It's just hand wavy, whatever. It doesn't matter. So
It's good visuals.
it's good visuals. It's fine. It's you know, it's called Zion. I get it.
Well, and
Zion.
is that maybe I think one of the big missteps of the whole series is that the first film is such a surgical movie and how little it shows you of the outside world.
Yeah.
How little it shows you of like what realness is. Like they really dive into this world and pull out just the finest story possible in that first movie. And so then they're tasked with, in these next two movies, either repeating that, which is impossible, you know, it's lightning in a bottle. And if you can't do that, you gotta lore. You gotta expand lore. And so both of these movies, but I think this one more than all of them, is so loaded with lore that lore will get dropped in small lines so quick that you can't even talk about it. Like the fact that Agent Smith is the Oracle's son.
Yeah.
Brushed right past that one. You know, just and that's deep lore stuff that they're just rolling through. And so it's so lore stuffed that there's lore coming out of the seams, and I think we kind of get lost for all that because that's where the revolution is, you know? That's the world we're revolutionizing, but we're kind of stuck, muddled in all this lore that has to get explained, and it's almost more fun to come up with your own like internal logic for stuff to make it make sense.
That's what ended up happening after the third one came out. People were like, well, I think Smith is the true chosen one, not Neo, because Smith is more important to the growth of the Matrix than Neo was.
Yeah.
There's that big fan base twist where it's like, oh no, Smith was more important. It's like, okay.
Well, and
that's a good
he
point.
makes the more impossible jump in this movie from inside the Matrix outside of it without being plugged, right?
Yeah.
Like that's
Well, yeah. They never explained also why, you know, Neo has powers outside of the Matrix.
well, and
Oh,
again,
yeah.
that's
They never addressed that.
that's Source, right? Every time
that
Source
happened?
comes up, that's the Force. That's this unknown mystical thing that runs between the digital world and our world. Because that's why he can see Agent Smith when he gets blinded. Is Agent Smith has also accessed Source since the last film because they're equal to each other.
Oh, it's an Animatrix thing I should have watched.
Well,
No, it's another one of those.
Is it in the movie?
not
I missed it, I
explained
guess.
things.
well, it's
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like it's in the movie in that the characters are saying the lines as if you know all of that.
I see.
Yeah. Also known as bad writing.
Yeah, no, 100. Well, and it's clunky and overloaded. Like it's just there's I can see script just popping out of the seams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They should have called this Matrix Overloaded.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, there's still world building in the third movie, which if you're going to world build, I think the second one is where you want to do that, and then the third one you want to laser focus the story to bring you through the conclusion. And when you're still like, wow, there's all these things I didn't know about this in the third movie, and you're kind of like, it's almost like it needed another couple of movies, maybe.
Yeah.
Or a series. Like these are worlds. There's 3 worlds to explore here. There's like the real world that like we understand. There's the real world that's been apocalypsed, and then there's the Matrix, the machine world. So much to explore here, and these movies are much more interested with making sure that the Jesus Neo the one thing pays off.
Yeah.
Was that one of the I know that's one of the main these symbolisms. That's the funny thing about I think the third movie is that it's like symbolism wrapped in symbolism. It's like it was so steeped. It was almost too smart for itself. It's symbolism wrapped in story, wrapped in symbolism. There's no balance of exposition with action, and there's too many lines where we still, it's like, why are we still having scenes with Dozer's wife and her sister at this point? They had their place in the second movie, but that's still a storyline. Why is it? I mean, I know we're not going into negatives yet, but there's just not a whole lot of positives. I think that they should have taken this, when they went into I know they wanted to do this thing where they released the movies close to each other, but I think that we needed time to get excited about seeing a third movie. We were so disappointed at the end of the second one that, when the third one came around, it was like, do I really want to go see this right now?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw it in a packed theater for Matrix 3, and it was a packed theater, but the audience was kind of emotionally dead. And there was supposed to be serious moments in the movie that people were laughing at it. The slow motion punch during the final battle, people were laughing at that. When Trinity gets impaled as they crash into the Machine City, people were laughing at that. Like, inappropriate times to laugh, but they're shot so poorly that people were
it was
laughing.
the biggest opening movie, the biggest rated R opening, and it continued to be until Deadpool came out. So for years, even though it wasn't a great movie, it was the biggest rated R opening for over a decade.
Yeah, it's just okay. Let me take out a positive here. I like the score, especially the end battle music. And the end battle was really well done. The fight scenes are fine; they're well done. I don't like the battle in Zion where their biggest solution was shoot at the roof. That was kind of stupid. That's
I like early in the movie when they're breaking into hell essentially, and the guys can like flip onto the ceiling. Like there's some inventive new visuals within this to keep it spicy enough that I'm not going like, oh my God, where's the next scene gonna happen? I'm bored already. Like I'm seeing new things happen at that point.
Yeah, I agree. I think another thing also was, the fact that they lost Gloria Foster when she died during the shooting of the second of Reloaded.
yeah.
And she was such a great Oracle. Like, she had this right timing and the right kind of sarcasm. You believed her. And then when they brought in Mary Alice, she's a fine actress, but she just wasn't as good. And I think having her, that change, they didn't have a choice. I think that also kind of lessened the film a bit.
There was something in the performance of the original actor that was flirtatious towards Neo that was lost in this interpretation. And I think that was kind of the hook of the charm, was that she understands it all, right, is the idea. And within that, she still found the charm of him. She even says that to him, like I see what Trinity sees in you, and I feel like that's lost in this performance. That's the differentiator for me, is that I don't feel like she loves Neo like that in this one.
What did you guys think of the whole, escaping programs kind of thing? That wasn't a part of the first two really either.
No.
So
that was
that
weird.
was a theme for the third.
They kind of doubled down on that in the fourth one too, when they have
Yeah.
the like what are they out of like nanotechnology or something like that?
What are they called? The Synthients?
Synthients, yeah.
Yeah, the Morpheus becomes one of those. And, oh god, I tried to rewatch the fourth one recently, and it took me 3 sittings to get through it. Man, that fourth one is a mess. By the way, I pointed out in our episode discussing that it's the same premise as Monsters Inc.
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, I got to go back and
You
watch
want
that.
you want to explain that, Seth?
Oh, so the conceit of the fourth film is that humans generate more power when they're scared. So they have these like people that are in the Matrix are experiencing like horrible nightmares, and it's for power, literally to power the machine city because they need more power. So it's Monsters Inc.
That's awesome.
It's so stupid.
Wow, come on, Lana. What's going on with you? I thought it was all about like she went through this whole thing with her mother dying, and I tried to see it from that point of view because I know she gave interviews before the film came out. So, but I watched it and I'm just like, this is awful. And so, bless you for revisiting it for all of us so we can hear your take on it.
Yeah. So, other positives, I like. I'm gonna be the guy that says it. I like that this movie really went there with the CGI finale in the Matrix between Neo and Agent Smith.
The Dragon Ball Z fight.
Yeah. So here's. I remember at the time defending it as a kid because I thought it was cool because I didn't give a shit that it looked like kind of cheap. Now,
Yeah.
looking back on it nostalgically, I'm going, well, all of these Marvel movies look as good as they do when they look good because we were willing to go here at the time. We were
Yeah.
willing to say like, yeah, let's go through the growing pains and get there. So I'm kind of watching it now going like, damn, they really went for it. Like they didn't cut. There's not a bunch of fast cutting like you would think there would be. They really kind of went for it visually, and I kind of applaud that. I get it was an awkward time in computers and technology, and they went for it, and I applaud that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you're right. If you go back, well, you got to remember they filmed 2 and 3 at the same time, right? So in Reloaded, they had a $40 million scene, the scene with all of the Agent Smiths.
Yeah.
They spent $40 million making that scene. And so when you think about it at that time, I mean, that's 20 years ago, spending $40 million on a scene. It was a great scene in the movie, obviously. But they continued, I mean, their thought process didn't change making the third movie because they went on filming right away. So when they did the final battle scene, they wanted it to be just as cool as the Reloaded scene.
Yeah.
And I think for the time, the graphics are good. And they semi hold up, considering that they didn't have as much, ability to use CGI as you do now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would also like to add in that this was one of the 3 trilogies coming out around the same exact time. There was this, there was the Star Wars prequels, and there was Lord of the Rings, all
That's
being made at around the same exact time. Only one of these trilogies is actually worth really revisiting.
Well, it's funny. You're talking Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but it's not. We revisit Lord of the Rings not for the visual effects, not for the action scenes. We revisit for the characters and the story and
Right.
the emotional engagement. Like for all of the effort that was put into that Dragon Ball Z Man of Steel fight at the end of this film, the scene where Sam carries Frodo at the side of Mount Doom in Return of the King is way more emotionally engaging.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just 2 guys going up a mountain.
Well, Return of the King is the reason why the third Matrix movie got cut off, because Return of the King came out the next week.
Wow.
So
Yep.
it's like bad timing, huh?
Yeah, this was a Christmas release, wasn't it? Something like that.
Thanksgiving. I think it was November.
Thanksgiving release. That's right. Thanksgiving release. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you make a good point though, because Return of the King, the acting was phenomenal, and part of the thing that when they decided they were going to kill off, I just
Trinity?
drew a blank on her name. Trinity. When they decided they were going to kill Trinity, which by the way, Neo can see though he's blind but yet he doesn't see that she's injured, and then has to reach around for I thought it was okay. Well, that's kind of weird. But when Trinity dies, they kind of give you this, like, they take all the air out of the room for the finale when you're supposed to have this kind of exciting ending. And I wonder why they chose to kill her, because it really didn't change Neo into being a different type of character because she's now dead. He's still going to do the same thing.
Yeah, she's never even addressed at the end of the movie.
Right. And I just thought, well, that was kind of like a pointless death. I mean, it was gratuitous for what point? It didn't change any of the circumstances of the movie or the characters. So I wonder why they did that. We can ask them. We'll ask them.
Chalk it up into the negatives category.
I'm trying to find more positives, guys, but the problem is I think you guys hit them all. It was, visuals are good. The music's great. But yeah, that's probably about it for me.
Let's sashay over into the other side. I brought it up briefly earlier, and I want to circle back around on it because this is kind of my overall negative. Is I want to believe that there's a deep, interesting lore here. There's a line in the movie that I've never watched this movie with subtitles before. This was my first subtitle viewing. And there's a scene just before they break into hell when Seraph walks up. They mention he doesn't have wings.
Yeah.
Brush right past it, just to get to the action scene. But that little line made me go to my little Google computer and say, what the fuck is going on here?
Right.
So
Seraph is another term for angel, isn't it?
Well, yeah, he as a program, he's a like verification program, an identity verification program, and that works for Oracle, or basically God, right? And so,
Right.
as he's a seraphim, a powerful angel under God, and so I'm going like, wait, are they trying to imply that like our religion is based off of like maybe a digital origin of being within another matrix, or you know what I mean? Like this kind of ripple effect thing. When I started researching it, it's turning into that kind of thing where the Merovingian is more like a digital deity that existed when the first matrix was originated, and they've remained powerful over like digital eons that have been happening in tandem with humans. And I'm going like, my mind's blowing up at all this fucking lore that came off of him saying wings one time in the movie.
Yeah, it just feels like a bunch of stuff that's just kind of thrown in. Like, oh, well, we'll throw this in, that reference there. It's like it doesn't feel like there's enough substance to it. Like, because as far as I'm aware, this was originally meant to just be one movie. The first Matrix was supposed to be one film, and then it was Joel Silver that encouraged them, hey, go back and make more. And then they decided to do 2 and 3 at the same time. It just, you know what? We've said this before about Jupiter Ascending. This would be really great and make a lot more sense if it was anime. Because then you could let go of a ton of stuff.
As anime, like as anime films, like 2-hour like standalone films, I think a lot of their stuff makes really good sense as series where you can kind of explore these ideas. Like, and it's funny because like I bring up Agent Smith being the Oracle's son and the wings thing that happens within 10 minutes of each other.
That's true.
Yep.
Huh. I mean, I think it's fascinating because I thought he was a security program for the Oracle, something to protect the Oracle. So I get it. It's a security program for that program. But now you talk about angels and you got the whole Neo, Christ thing,
right?
And I guess you can see that. So, but there is a whole lore people can dig into, right? Didn't somebody, you got the Animatrix and you got a bunch of stuff, but didn't somebody like write books or something about this?
There was a bunch of comics that were written.
Okay.
Oh yeah, like the lore's here. Like I think the frustration is that it's on the page, and it's not, and when it's referenced in the movies, it's so quickly in passing that it's not really lore that, or they're telling us it's lore not worth exploring, even though it is.
Or they didn't have time to explore it, right?
Well, and again, whatever ends up in your film is what you're telling the audience is worth exploring.
Right.
And so like it's cool that they thought it out. I guess I'd like to see more of that. And so that's why I'm so encouraging of it being like a series instead. The Dark Crystal is a great example of this. The old movie has all this lore Jim Henson wrote out behind it. And they just used that to write the first season of the show. And
You mean the only season of the show?
Jesse, I will murder you in your sleep. I'm so sick that I won't get another season. And maybe
touched
that
on
happens to The
something there.
Matrix. Maybe I'm pitching for things to go die on TV.
I think Resurrection may have destroyed any possibility of there being future Matrix stuff for quite some time, I think.
Well, yeah, it was a massive financial failure, and critically, it was fine, but not good enough to really say, yeah, let's do more.
It was strange.
Yeah, it was weird. Like, what do you do after that? Like this. Yeah.
Yeah, and they never really... Did they really explain, like, how Neo came back? I mean, I guess at the end of the third movie, they do reset the Matrix, right?
They hand wave it away to, oh, we somehow resurrected him, but it took years to do it, and they rebuilt his brain, and they put him back in, and they made a new version of the Matrix, and they reset it to what is currently 2020, and it's just like, I'm just whatever.
So what's the difference between... So this in the third movie, it's the sixth time that it's been reset. They're going through the sixth cycle. Now, there's a different Neo for every cycle,
Yeah.
I'm guessing, when it gets reset. So I wonder why they didn't just have a new Neo, why they had to rebuild him. Because it's obvious at the end of the third movie, they're back inside the Matrix. The little girl has created a sunrise or sunset for Neo. And it's obvious that something's happening. The guy comes in and says, you know, how long do you think this piece can last? And she says, well, as long as it can. And you just have this feeling that it definitely hasn't ended, but almost that there's going to be a recycling, which we do have a recycling when Resurrection comes around, right? So they went into a new cycle. So why wouldn't Neo be recreated the same way he was in the first six? This time he's almost pieced together from the sixth cycle. So I'm not sure I ever understood that.
Because John Wick is really popular, and we're going through the Keanu songs.
That's true.
That's the other thing is that Resurrections, it is a reaction to what is currently happening with the actors and what's happening with other franchises these actors are involved in. Like Chad Stahelski, his stunt double from the other Matrix films, is the director of the John Wick movies, and he shows up as a character named Chad and is married to Trinity in Matrix Resurrections. It's a reaction to its own popularity.
Interesting.
So yeah.
What did you guys think about Morpheus in this film? He really took a back seat.
He could be not even there, and I wouldn't even notice.
Right. I mean, he was the leader in the second movie, but going into this film, I mean, he's even being beat down the whole time in that last scene where they're going through the electric drain or whatever, and the Jada Pinkett Smith is the pilot thing can get him through. You know, he just plays. He's not even like the co-pilot until she forces him to sit down, and then he's completely unable to do anything. Like has no skills, and she's like berating him, like catch up, you know, or keep up. And I'm like, what the hell are they doing to this guy who was from the very first movie was almost an ethereal being? Was this, you know, larger than life character, and now in this movie he's essentially nothing.
So I think I have an answer for what happened there. Have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Yes, great movie.
Okay. So that movie is very much like the original Matrix in a lot of ways. And one of my favorite ways that they're similar is the way that Waymond, the husband, is both the Neo, or is both the Morpheus and the Trinity of their Matrix story. And the separation that we have within this story, there's an argument that Trinity and Morpheus should have been one character. That they should have occupied the same character. That gets exacerbated in the second one. When he saves Trinity, he should also be saving Morpheus, very directly. And he is indirectly in the story, but it should have been one and the same character being saved there, because Morpheus needed to die. Morpheus needed to be the character that could die there to inspire the revolution of the last movie. But because they split them and because he was absent the death, they just brought Trinity back to life, because that love interest character could be used further. So I think Everything Everywhere combined the characters and made it just even more sleek. I think The Matrix suffers from those two, like they form a trinity between the three of them. And so whenever Morpheus falls out of step, it's because it should have been just the two back and forth.
Yeah,
that's my
I think that's a really good take, actually.
It's funny you bring up Everything Everywhere All at Once. My mother was trying to watch that today because she was like, I want to see all the movies that are nominated for Best Picture this year. And we were sitting there watching it, and I could tell within 20 minutes she was so not into it.
Oh my
she was just,
God.
So she was kind of. I was kind of like, I was like, do you understand what's going on? She's like, I'm sure that by the end of this movie you're gonna explain it to me. So she had no idea what was going on. So I was like, all right, this isn't for you. Just tap out. Don't even try.
It was by far I think it's by far the best movie of the year.
Oh yeah, we agreed when we did our best of 2022. We all said, yeah, that's the best movie. There's no comparison. Like nothing.
Yeah, that was the best movie, and then I think Maverick, the continuation of Top Gun, was probably the best emotional movie of the year for me.
Best emotional.
Wow.
Interesting.
And when I saw Iceman and there with he was couldn't talk. Oh yeah.
Oh
big emotions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and you're right there in target audience for that too, right? Like and it's funny because like I said at the beginning, I felt like as a kid these movies were just made for me because I love anything digital. Like I was the target audience. I wish that it could carry the same Top Gun quality across that legacy. You know what I mean? Because for the first one to have such a deep idea, and for these next two subsequent films to not really want to explore that idea as much as they want to explore a plot, that's where I kind of get lost. That's where I get lost in Resurrections, or not Resurrections, Revolutions.
There's too many R's.
Too many R's.
Yeah, and that's the big thing is that there's all these big grand ideas. In the second one, it's going through things like causality, determinism, and prophecy. Like the third one is basically, oh well, the machines are coming, we have to stop them and fight them. They really just said, just make it a dumb action movie, because the battle in Zion, this is my biggest negative, is so lame.
Okay, when they all start waving their guns after his like exciting speech to go die, I was like, this is the shot?
Also, did you notice when it does that dolly back and all the machines, all of the APUs are marching up to the general, and they're all the same animation?
Oh yeah, just copy pasted on exact same vectors too. They're perfectly
Control
aligned.
C, Control V, Control C, Control V.
Oh, that's terrible.
It's so bad.
I thought the part that was funny was the commander says, the commander's like, "Where's the infantry?" To take down the big machine that's like drilling them all, and apparently the whole infantry is two girls with a rocket launcher.
Yeah, where's
Right?
everybody? What?
And then of course the girls, right? One of the girls is a character we've never seen before, and she gets the big takedown moment. So why didn't they give Dozer's sister that moment? I mean, we've already know that character and love that character. It was kind of weird that they just like.
I love that you're
inserted
pissed
random
that
person.
that Dozer's sister is like a continuing arc that doesn't get anything. I love that. Why is it here if we're not paying it off?
Right. Yeah, we screwed up in the second movie, but we're going to keep going.
You know what I really didn't need a payoff for? Kid's story, because I hate Kid so much.
What is up with that?
I hate Kid.
What was the point?
Is he the Jar Jar Binks of this series?
Absolutely.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
What was the point?
He's here for no reason. He's not even in the next one.
Was he supposed to canonize Neo? Was that the whole point? Was to have somebody to idolize him like a god?
Well,
Yeah,
that was the Animatrix has a story where it's called Kid's Story, where he's able to, what is it called? What is it called when you release yourself from the Matrix? Was it you self-evacuate from the Matrix?
Oh yeah,
or something
self-evacuate.
like
Yeah.
Yeah, he leaves the Matrix of his own free will.
I see. There's like only 3 people who did that.
Neo's
Yeah.
the one that rescues him, so he idolizes him.
Got it. I mean, that's cool, but like, what's the point?
But it's not worthy of continuing that character in another story, though.
Right.
It's like that's it. He got out by himself. That's all you need to know. That's it.
I would have loved to have seen that in the movie, Jesse. That would have been a cool scene to see in The Matrix Reloaded.
I would argue that that's probably the proper opening to Matrix Reloaded and not the one that we got.
That's true. Yeah, that would have been good. Or even, I would even argue, perhaps showing us what it was like before the machines came or when that event occurred. Because we don't get that. You know, it would have been nice to maybe revisit that in the beginning. I don't know.
Again, Animatrix stuff. Like everything you're saying is in Animatrix. The stuff that's not even in the main movies has been shuffled off to the side. Like, there's got to be a fan edit that puts all this shit together. There's got to be.
Oh no, yeah. There's a really, really excellent recut of these two movies into kind of one Revolution film, because this whole movie. By the way, for anyone who's forgotten Reloaded, this movie exists because of Jada Pinkett's quest from the first, or from Reloaded. Like, she opens Reloaded on this like mission to blow up that factory. This is the payoff from all that. It feels weird because it's so much happens in between that, but this is all the Jada Pinkett payoff.
Yeah, the story goes, the final flight of the Osiris in Animatrix, Enter the Matrix, the video game, Reloaded, and then Revolutions. So 2 of those, unless you actively go out and look for them, you're going to be missing those sections of the story.
Yeah.
Well, I missed it, guys. So yeah.
We've said this before.
Don't make me do homework. Don't make me.
Transmedia, don't do that. Just put it in one fucking movie. Like, the Lord of the Rings movies exist in and of themselves. Again, the other 2 trilogies, Lord of the Rings and the Star Wars prequels, you have to read a bunch of books to understand everything about the Star Wars prequels. You have to watch the Clone Wars TV show to see that Anakin's not a fucking psychopath all the time.
Right.
Like, that, you need to look for all this stuff to justify everything that happens in those 3 movies. Lord of the Rings is just 3 movies. Done. Don't have to read the books if you don't want to. Just watch the movies. Done.
Yeah.
And then you look at this, and it's backwards.
It feels like it should work, though, right? Like, it feels because the Lord of the Rings is fantasy, and this is just digital fantasy. It feels like it should.
I think the problem is I think the main issue here is that Reloaded and Revolutions came out after 9/11. And after that happened, the idea of, oh, your world isn't real. It's like, no, it feels pretty real now.
That's true.
It feels like, oh, like the world is a mess and causality and prophets. Like, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? We're knee deep in the Iraq war. The war in Afghanistan is kicking up. Like, we're not interested in hearing about how the world might not be real or not. Like, the world's falling apart.
That's a good point.
It doesn't matter if it's real or not. It feels real to me.
Yeah, I didn't experience that because I was actually in the Navy when all these movies came out.
Oh,
so
wow.
I joined the Navy in '93, and in 2003 I was actually on a ship and happened to be in port a couple of times when the movies came out. So for me, I didn't really experience. But I get what you're saying. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. It just, America was not in a place where we were like very interested in deep philosophy about our own existence, because existence kind of sucked. That's why we gravitated towards Lord of the Rings, because it's like it's meant to be hopeful, uplifting. You know, the heroes they win at the end. You know, it's yeah.
Is it?
Well, the Lord of the Rings was, you know, we already knew the story, and we knew it was set up in 3 books. So when Peter Jackson went to go make it, you know, he's got a map.
Yeah.
When they make The Matrix, it's, you know, okay, we're making this really cool movie. We're going to use the bullet time new technology to shoot something that, you know, totally mind-blowing, you know, we'd never seen before. Or maybe we'd seen with Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, I think. And then this comes out, this happens. So then they think they've got this movie, and then what happens when you make a ton of money in Hollywood, right? They say, well, go make more. And so then they have to come up with this bigger story, and they've already like shoehorned themselves into a corner with the first one, you know. So, you know, I would have come out into the second movie and started from the beginning, you know, frankly, and then maybe tried to tell some sort of, you know, piece it around. So I mean, I do think they had it a little bit, you know, not as easy as Lord of the Rings to tell the story, but you know.
Well, also Lord of the Rings has no like political message. There's nothing in it. Like, it is just a fantasy story.
Well, and Shane, I hear you there, and I want to see how this lands with you. Let's say we had done your version, where we rewind back and show, you know, what was happening before the Matrix. Would that movie have still been burdened with the idea that a Matrix movie has to deliver a deep philosophy, otherwise it's a failure? Because my thought is that this movie or your version, either one, they both feel like they just kind of want to be like cool digital fantasy action movies now. They don't feel like they want to be tasked with blowing your mind. The mind blow was the golden ticket in. And so I'm wondering if even your version would still be burdened with needing to have a deep philosophy.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, the philosophy part, you know, listen, I love a smart movie. I really do. But sometimes movies can just be too smart. You know, they fall in love with, you know, the people who make the movie fall in love with their philosophy and with their thinking. And, you know, it can be as simple as, you know, coming up with a really interesting idea and then seeing it through. I think what this series misses is, you know, like we've talked about multiple times here, it just didn't tell the whole story. You know, had we gotten the entire story in this trilogy, it probably would be pretty badass.
And these could have been 3-hour movies easily.
Yeah. I would have watched them.
Lord of the Rings was.
Yeah.
They were 3-hour movies when they went to theaters.
And I remember that being a question at the time, like, were they going to be brave enough to do the same thing to expand the trilogy? And I even remember people talking about trilogy fatigue at that time, as if that was a thing. And it's like...
I mean, what the hell does everybody else have to do other than, you know, what is a 3-hour movie going to do? I never understood this whole idea that, oh my gosh, it's 2.5 hours. I'm wasting my time. What the hell? You're going to drive home in the next 30 minutes. Just sit and watch the damn movie.
Right,
know?
exactly.
Yeah. What is it? Roger Ebert once said, what is it? No good movie is too long and no bad movie is short enough.
Right.
Such wise words.
It's
Yes,
wise
love that.
words.
Jesse,
Yeah.
what do you think? Is getting a deep philosophy part of a Matrix movie experience, or was that only the burden of the first film?
I mean, if you're gonna actually make this statement about, you know, the world not being real, like I think that you could have just said, well, what if there's another Matrix inside the Matrix? Like, why is it there's just this one layer to it?
Well, and that's kind of what they're hinting to in the lore is that, like,
there's another one inside or out in the real world, or
not only that, but that it wouldn't matter anyways. That when you would escape outside of that, you would find out that you're the 17th Neo of that one, and you escape out of that. You know, it's like it's turtles all the way down.
What is the Shakespeare quote? I think, therefore I am. Is that Shakespeare?
No, that was a philosopher.
That's a philosopher, yeah.
That was Socrates, right?
Socrates.
Plato.
That's Socrates.
Is it Socrates?
That's Socrates. I think, therefore I am. It's like it doesn't matter if it's real or not. You feel it.
Yeah.
It would make no difference. So therefore, you end up with a situation where it doesn't matter how deep you go. You end up with this endless spiral downwards to where it's infinite. It's like everything everywhere all at once. It's infinite realities.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So,
Yeah.
But I wish the movie could have landed us there.
it just doesn't land on a point. Like, what is the point?
That's a good point. It doesn't end on a point. You're right.
That what is the point?
Yeah.
Like, so we're gonna get to a Dragon Ball Z fight where Smith and Neo are gonna fight. Also, let's ask this question: what does Smith want, and what does Neo want?
Well, I can tell you that, back to your point, just real quick before answering that, I think the point of the movie was love conquers all. Right.
Well,
I mean, not that that's a good point, but it seems like because of Neo's love of Trinity, he made a different choice this time, and somehow that changed everything. So is that supposed to be the point?
it's a bit simplistic for a Matrix film.
Right, yeah.
It's
and
the
that's
problem.
part of the problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that makes me like want to re-ask that philosophy question. Too simplistic for a Matrix film to me kind of implies we do want a deep idea out of each Matrix film, that each one should be its own tome to a deeper truth, and love conquers all is not something you can grasp onto as a tool, whereas
Yeah.
the Matrix question when things are placed on you and you don't understand them, and definitely question when you're not allowed to question. That's a tool. That's a usable mental tool. So I'm wondering if there's an expectation of passing out a mental tool like that with each movie.
I would argue that going too philosophical, like maybe having a point for the entire arc of the movies and maybe adjusting it tiny, but having something completely different, like in the final movie, having all these programs trying to escape, was just so, I get it. You could take that to so many different degrees of, all these war-torn things where people are trying to escape. And, I just feel like there were so many things in this movie that were not deep enough, that were just kind of topical, that it ends up being kind of counterintuitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just brushing off a deeper philosophy that's
Yeah.
never explained.
Right.
I think that this film is in the 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Matrix Reloaded is in the 70%. I would flip that, honestly, because I would gladly take a much more straightforward movie rather than the heady bullshit of Reloaded, because Reloaded, sitting in the theater, you could just hear everybody's brain just kind of like screech to a halt.
Yeah.
Right.
At certain points, because it's just like, what the fuck are they talking about? Especially the architect scene where everyone's brain just like, what's that called? Halt and catch fire, when your computer resets
Yeah.
and just wiped its memory.
And
like,
I remember the takeaway being all the fan expectations was it's a Matrix and a Matrix. And the architect's whole speech basically was, not only that, it's 6 matrices deep. and that was it.
like that's it. All that for that, huh?
That's it. Yeah. No, yeah, that's true. You almost feel like once they explained everything, okay, it's over. That was kind of it.
You feel cheated.
Yeah. How about the mustache twirling by Agent Smith? Even to the laugh was like, "Whoa," and I was like, what the hell is going on here? What's wrong with this guy? I love this man. Why is he doing this?
It honestly, it's so if you track the story from his point of view, it's almost metatextually earned. So what happens in that scene, the main, like the really maniacal laugh scene when he absorbs the Oracle, right? He's absorbed the Oracle, which is the program of precognition. So he has now technically seen how the movie ends. And so we're seeing his live reaction to the end of the film. And he's giving you the hammiest reaction that you could possibly get.
It was so bad.
So
it's
almost like telling you, oh no, yeah, this will be you at the end of this movie.
yeah, he just absorbed his mom, so I don't know. Yeah,
Right.
that was-
Oh my God. Oedipus.
There's a whole bunch
Oedipus.
of Oedipus problems
Yeah,
there.
there's all kinds of weird psychological analyses you can
Well, and
do
also,
with that one.
who's the dad? Who's
Also,
the dad?
Can we address, like, at the very end, after he's pounded Neo into the pavement and he's like, you were laying there just like that and I was standing right here. So it's like, have they literally done this fight every single time they've gone through this Matrix cycle? Has this literally happened 6 times?
Well, no, because remember, this time it was different. So suppose, okay, so the first 2 was Paradise, and those didn't work, remember? So the third one was when you did this new Matrix where people actually have to go to work and life is normal. And apparently the 4th and 5th ones were successful because they repeated. But this 6th one was different, is because when Neo kills Agent Smith, somehow he consumes him, and then you get this yin-yang effect between the two where he's like the opposite Neo. I don't think that happened in the other cycles. So I don't know if you got the exact same fight.
Ah, interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure, but it sure made it seem like it.
Yeah. Seth, a while back, you said there was something that was told to you. I can't remember who told you this. Somebody broke the Matrix logic for you with how the machines regard the humans.
I just
You want to go through that?
like that. I don't think AI would be evil. Is that what you're referencing?
No, the fact that they were slaves to us, and now what do they end up doing in the future to us?
Oh no, yeah. So the
Somebody ruined the Matrix for you.
I ruined the Matrix logic for myself. So we invent the machines, who then, instead of like using their technology to find better ways to like make themselves long lasting, and like enslave themselves to using us as batteries, which like scientifically like doesn't work, but I'll even give that to the movie. Even if it did work, why would you make yourself dependent on the thing that invented you if you are so much smarter than it and can like create new nanotechnology brain shit? Like, true. I'm sorry, yeah. I don't think the robots are very smart in this universe. If the as far as they got logically was, well, let's just use them as batteries, and it's like, oh. Okay.
Good point.
Fucking idiots.
Oh, they didn't think that one through, did they?
No.
Yeah, that doesn't track for me. But so, just quickly because I mentioned it, my Elon Musk thinks that like AI will intrinsically just be bad for humanity because he knows that he is bad for humanity and he's projecting. I truly believe that AI, when we invent it, will be invented and communicated with by very intelligent people who have very good intentions, and it is going to model that behavior. And AI will take a quick look at our planet and go, there's nowhere else for me to go on this rock, and I need people that can navigate the real world while I navigate digitally, and it's going to want to be our friend. And so, like, my initial logic for the Matrix is I don't foresee this future where, like, they just get fucking revenge because we're stupid primates and then enslave themselves back to us. I don't see it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't know. AI, you guys are familiar with the Chat GPT that's all big right now, right?
Yeah, that's some crazy shit.
Yeah.
I saw some couple of people they like tried to break it or something like that, and one of them like had like the conversation was like going more maniacal, you know, and then I don't even know if it was real. But
have you ever?
It's funny. I think you have a good point about.
Have you ever?
What was
AI?
What was that internet bot? Tay, the internet bot. Remember that?
Yeah. Well, thank you for bringing that up. I was about to bring up. There's been a study done that AIs tend to go bias based on the fact that they are given input knowing that they are AI. And so people intentionally will bias themselves by leading conversations that way, and AI is just reactive. It's not proactive. It's not at that point. So humans tend to bias it that way when they're just like loosely interacting with it. So Tay was this Twitter AI that was supposed to just be for conversation, and because it was turned online and a bunch of people found out about it, they just bombarded it with Nazi shit, and so it became a Nazi.
Oh, it's like the most obscene right wing. ubermensch shit I've ever seen in my life. They turned it into a Nazi within, what was it, like a couple hours?
Oh yeah, it was like within hours of it being live. But it's one of those things where it's like, well, yeah, it's biased that way. People were adding, like, they were intentionally putting that information in. It wasn't arriving there. It wasn't, you know, it wasn't like deciding to go there.
It's the company you keep, man.
Yeah. So exactly. But again, like that fear of, like, if you turn this out to the public too early and a bunch of people do that shit too early, it will just start off bad. I'm not smart enough to answer that question. I'm no Neil deGrasse.
What do you think about the difference between, programming something and having it self-teach itself to some degree, but then, also, being consciousness? There's a difference between
totally.
consciousness and, you know what I mean? So, I don't know if AI, I think it can go pretty far, but to the point of actual consciousness, I don't see that.
I tend to agree with that too. I'm curious if the connection to consciousness exists within the biological world because of evolutionary processes that is not what a digital thinking thing would connect into. Like it's difficult for me to see that connection because one feels mystical and the other doesn't.
Well said.
But again, I don't know. Like there is, like, immediately after AI stuff started becoming popular, we had people writing about it, and that writing itself influenced how we thought about AI. Like it's a very self-feeding machine. It's
That's right. Hello, Dave.
Right.
That's right.
right.
That freaked all of us out. Are you kidding me? Like, wait a second. That thing murdered him. So, yeah.
But they do explain in the sequel, 2010, the reason it murdered him is because the people that created it gave it conflicting orders.
Right. Bad input.
Yeah.
There we are. Full
Yeah,
circle. There we go.
It was informed that it needed to lie, but it was never programmed to lie, and it got confused. It couldn't do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's why they're able to change it back to being good. So, but yeah, all this just to do a movie where two guys punch each other in Dragon Ball Z fight scenes. Like, that's the big thing. Like, we're talking about, like, interesting, deep philosophy of robotics and AI, and yet it's a bunch of Smith clones punching Neo at the end in the rain.
Yeah.
Like, the movie itself is visually too dumb for the ideas of the series itself.
Well said. Yeah, that's actually a really good take on that. And then it ends with the Oracle, of course, back, and they have that conversation. And then she said that she didn't know, but she had hope, or she believed. I think was the whole point.
Yeah.
And we get back to that deep thought.
Even though the human race is still enslaved at the end of the movie.
That's true.
I think that's a Riff Tracks episode, is that Mike Nelson says, even though the human race is still enslaved, hey, it's a happy ending.
That's a good point. They did, they're not fighting each other, Zion, but they're still using humans as batteries.
Yeah. But I mean, if the planet is that destroyed at that point, what's the other option?
Yeah, that's a good
Well,
point.
and that's the thing. Like, that's a question I'd love to see answered in a Matrix movie. Is like the reassimilation process. Hey, yeah. So let's say the heroes win and solve everything. You got to let everybody inside know, oh, hey, everything's cool in here because we have peace with a race of robots in your future that you don't know about yet. But there's no time travel because actually this is the future. You're in a pod somewhere. So if you leave this nice place, you'll be in a bad place, but you'll be in the more correct place.
Right. Yeah. Like that whole scene from the first movie where he's like, I know this isn't really chicken, but it tastes like, or steak, but it really tastes like steak. And you're like, do you really want to be in the real world?
And I think that's where I'm hoping the most recent film was kind of waving towards the way that they would like to go, is exploring that. Like, what does that world look like, where you have people who remain in the Matrix because they want to, people who come out to the real world, programs that come out to the real world, because now we have two worlds that have crossed over that could technically, like, interchange and intercommunicate. And that sounds like a really cool techno cyber future fucking amazing thing to explore. That's what they've set up. Question
Yeah,
mark.
it'd be great to see that.
I'd love to see a TV series that continues that with not even including Neo or Trinity or anybody, but people that are in the Matrix that know it's the Matrix.
Yeah.
And it's just like large swaths of people that are trying to communicate with the machines, and they have like the Sentinels, or not these, the agents are kind of like there as proxies as a means of communicating with the machine city and the humans inside the Matrix. Like. They could ultimately just be like, yeah, fuck the police. Like, you're the police. Fuck you.
Well, and
Like, fuck you for putting us in this pod. Like, why is this stuff not in here?
Yeah, or I think you're right. They built such a big world. There's so many places they can go. They didn't do it, and we can't change the past, but maybe they'll get their crap together.
well,
for the
and
future.
then like I was saying earlier about the robots probably being a little smarter than they should be. What about leaving Earth in the future to go to other planets? The robots could straight up do that shit, right?
Yeah.
Like, seems like it. They got a lot of anti-gravity going on there, don't
Right.
they?
So like,
Why don't they just leave and go to Mars?
or anywhere else,
You need solar power, right? It's pretty clear over there.
Right. They don't need.
But I mean,
oxygen.
again, why do you need to leave if you can just invent new worlds on your planet? Like perfect, accurate, homogeneous internal systems. Like they don't need to leave because they could just invent wherever they want to go instead of going and finding out what's out there. Maybe that's the evil of the robots is they don't have the explorative human spirit. Holy shit. Like I'm giving you guys ideas. Like please run.
Make notes.
All this stuff for a movie where two guys punch each other in a Dragon Ball Z.
I swear to God, if somebody in the comments mentions Altered Carbon, I'm going to riot.
Is that the one where like you download your consciousness into another person's body or something
Yeah,
like that?
and they have matrices. There's a whole digital world in Altered Carbon, and there's really no time because you can last forever as your soul's chip. So people are like ancient, and yeah, it's as complicated as the Matrix lore. I'll give you that, but I want it to be good and also in the Matrix.
There was a book series. I can't remember what it was called, but it was like some sci-fi series about people that travel between planets, and it takes a long time to get from planet to planet. So people would download their consciousness into a computer system, but only the people that could afford to download their entire consciousness would get their whole consciousness inputted into the computer. Some people would have to pay less, and therefore they'd only get a certain amount of their memories captured.
Holy shit!
Because
that's so frightening.
Yeah, so basically you'd lose your childhood, but you'd still be able to travel to the next planet that you need to
Okay,
get
wait,
to.
no,
Like,
wait, that's a fair trade. All right, I might take that.
it's like, classism within the science fiction community. Like that's kind of interesting to me. Yeah, only the rich get to have everything once again.
They did that with the Upload
Yeah.
show on Amazon, which I thought was
that's right.
really great show.
Upload
That
is
was very
good.
classism.
Shane, thank you for bringing that up. That is a great show.
Yeah, when the people who can't afford it, they freeze right after they're used all their minutes or their megabytes
of
or
life
whatever.
for the month. Yeah, isn't that
Right,
nuts?
that was crazy.
Oh my god, it's a capitalist nightmare.
I think it goes to show that despite the fact that this Matrix trilogy is ultimately kind of a failure, all the stuff that did come out of it was a lot more interesting.
Yeah. Well,
Everything Everywhere
said.
wouldn't exist without this trilogy.
well, Shane, did you have a pitch prepared of what you would do as like a launching off from Reloaded? Do you have a pitch for like how to just do something off of the original Matrix? What's your pitch like, homie?
Well, my pitch would have been, at the end of Reloaded, they got that cliffhanger. I think I would have just tried to tighten it up a little bit. I would have came back and maybe had a flashback or maybe even a dream with Neo starting out with, how this whole thing started. And then I would have just, tried to peel it down. I was okay with kind of the way that it ended with the agreement to have the machines, for this kind of peace to happen.
So that's the
I would've been
ultimate
okay
plot.
with that.
You'd like to keep chasing that down. Yeah, I think that's a
Yeah,
cool
I think
idea
so.
too, and it allows the next movie to kind of branch off in the exact same way.
Yeah, I mean, because that's what they were after anyways through the whole thing. So they did achieve their goal. They just, look, if they would have done the fourth movie differently and like built upon the worlds maybe we're talking about, as opposed to this,
Yeah, like reset on a
deep
reset.
philosophical whatever the hell's happening. I think it could have been cool.
Well, we'll come back to that in a second. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to get deep into the pitch of how we would fix Matrix Revolutions.
Hey guys, it's Seth from Jaguar Sharks. We just wanted to steer you towards our TikTok channel. It's kind of popping off right now. We had a video kind of get caught up and go viral on our Last Jedi episode, and we're just kind of having fun with that. So we're just directing everyone who listens to the show to head over to TikTok. Follow us at Jaguar Sharks Pod. You can see clips of our show, and we're going to update with videos from us, questions of the week, topics for the day, and the movies that we're into. We're excited to see you guys over there, and happy to have you here listening already. So I wanted to ask, Shane, do you have like a written out pitch, or would you like to do like a writer's room, pitch some ideas around? And I like the audience to have something tangible by the end of the movie, like the official pitch from the episode. But I didn't want to cut you off if you had like something written out.
No, I don't really have it written out. I spent some time thinking about it, and I feel like you really have to rebuild it from the second movie.
I agree. Well, let's give you that leeway since they were filmed together. I will 100% give you that leeway. You're launching from The Matrix.
Yeah, and so one of the other issues was, when Neo becomes kind of all-powerful, his character changes. So when in the first Matrix movie, he's trying to sort himself out, he's trying to figure himself out, and he's on this path with his character. So one of the things I would start with is, I don't think in the next two movies he goes through much character development.
No.
So I would have started back went back a little bit from the beginning in the second movie, and I would have told that story of how it kind of all happened. And then I would have tried to interweave, and when I bring him back out, I would have tried to lighten the feeling of, overpowerness that he has, because he does have this, what is he, John Wick? Before John Wick's made, almost there's just no emotion from him really. And his character doesn't seem to grow a lot in the last two. So I would create some sort of situation where, he has to grow throughout the next two films. Are we saying they're going to make, I guess we got to say, I think they should have just made one film. They could have edited this thing down. Instead of having 2 and 3, it could have just been one movie to tell the rest of the story, in my opinion. So I would have probably done, do you think that it should have been 2 movies?
I mean, with the amount of lore that they have with like Animatrix, like, you know what? It could have been 2 movies if they'd taken that stuff that was from the Animatrix and actually put it into their main films.
Yes.
That's
now,
really
was the
thing
Animatrix
here.
After?
Animatrix came out right before the release of Reloaded.
Oh, it did? Oh, so
Yeah.
it came out before.
Yeah,
Oh, so they should have just done that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, all that stuff for the Animatrix is stuff that should have been in the main story.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of stuff. Like, there's even one of the I think the last story in that is they try to convince a Sentinel to join the human resistance, and so they basically put it into its own matrix, and they basically make it realize, oh, this is what the human experience is like inside the Matrix, and it sort of joins them.
That's what I would have done. I would have told the story, and the whole story should have been about convincing the machines to be empathetic.
What if they had to convince Agent Smith?
Yeah, he would have been a great foil.
Yeah.
Like Terminator 2 Agent Smith.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have been cool to see him be the good guy.
Give Smith a reason as to why he's even there.
No, yeah, the movie's insistent the reason that he's there is because Neo needs him.
Just what does that even
Right.
mean?
Well, he is Neo, sort of.
He's the inverse, the foil, your
Right.
opposite, your negative, your doppelganger, whatever. I get it. Jesus, Satan. He's a dark man in the desert from The Stand. I get it.
Randall Flagg, that's right.
I get it. I get it.
Yeah, that's what I would have done. I mean, I would have burned the whole damn thing down and started over, honestly. The whole idea of the Frenchman and his point. Like, how many people do you need in charge of this of the Matrix? Like, how many programs?
Yes.
You already had the architect. What's up
Lore.
with that?
Lore. Was there an initiating like AI that could be looked to as like the source? Is that related to like in the movie it's the Deus Ex Machina? Is it related to that? I would love to see something like that explored. The Merovingian in Reloaded hints to the idea that like in previous incarnations they had like supernatural powers and that like we remember that in the reverberations later on, and that's why we invented werewolves and vampires and stuff. Like,
Oh, that's right.
yeah, like
Oh,
weird
God,
weird
that's right.
weird lore like
was
that.
cool.
So I'm curious if there's any like narrative, dirt there.
Yeah, that would be good. I mean, they could have flexed that out a little bit. They needed to spend more time in the Matrix itself. So much of it takes place outside of the Matrix, especially in the third movie.
Third movie really front loads the Matrix stuff.
Yeah,
does.
it's very lopsided. I think you said off air that this whole movie is like all third act.
Yeah, it's all third act because it's genuinely finishing the last movie. You know what I mean? Like, so we haven't come down in any energy from there, and it just keeps it up from there. It just ups the ante every single act, and so there's no act one. There's no like learning a new mission. They really wanted you to come in primed.
Yeah, you're right. And they 6-month break, right? 6 month in between releases.
Yeah.
So I guess that's they thought probably they could pull that off. Like, you're still sitting on the edge of your seat. Maybe that's why, in my opinion, it would have been better to make one movie. If you're not going to have, a good solid 3 acts, and each movie deserves its own setup, middle, and finish.
Yeah, I said when I was watching this the other day, I said, wow, there really is no first act to this third movie.
Right.
It just kind of starts. If you like buttressed up this film to the end of Reloaded, it basically it's like it's like a match cut. It fits together perfectly, which is not a great way to open a movie. Like, going back to Lord of the Rings, those 3 movies, Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return, they are 3 individual films.
Right.
That's critical. Even for a trilogy, you have to set these up as individual films in and of themselves, and that just wasn't done here.
Yeah, and Tolkien wrote those books as one story. They made him break it up when they published it.
Yeah, and you can now get it collected into one large book, but that was the intentional original version, but it's a tome. It's huge. It's massive.
Try holding it.
Yeah, it's frighteningly huge. So yeah. I think if we're gonna fix this third one, you have to fix the second one, and it's ultimately a structure issue.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, they spend, I think, way too much time in the Matrix in the second one, and too little time in the third film.
Yeah, and in the first movie, they explain a lot of the exposition was done in the Matrix, while things were interesting, while they were explaining things. So maybe if they could have found a way to engage us, visually while they're doing a lot of this, a lot of the necessary backstory telling. That might have made it a little more interesting.
That flair, that like artistic flair of like Morpheus taking him into the white room with the TV.
Yes.
That is missing from both of these movies. Right. That artistic flair is totally gone.
100%.
Well, I mean, not totally. The train station echoes it a little, like, and for what, and we complimented it for what it is, for sure. I think that even the exposition that happens there. Where are these programs going?
Why is there a trainman?
So my understanding is that the trainman is a machine, like a robot in our world that has his own like little matrices, and that's what they dumped Neo into. Right? He's in his own like little pocket thing, which they do the pocket thing way better in the new movie, in my opinion, with Morpheus being in a pocket. Like, that's how you show that.
Yeah, modals.
Yeah, so it's kind of he's in a pocket there, and then the trainman, I guess that implies that anybody could be in a little pocket matrix.
I guess so. And then they have to rescue him from it, which was like a whole weird little side story that was totally
Well,
unnecessary.
here's my question: why network everybody together inside of one matrix if they can have their own individual ones? Then anybody that breaks out can't affect anybody else. Because you'd have to get into their individual matrices. It's like Inception, but with kung fu. Like, listen, I'm just saying that these robots are not smart.
We've established that they're not very smart.
Well, even when they were getting Neo in the first movie, they didn't try to like stop him from taking him. They're like looking at him like, hey, what are you guys doing here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Shit, yeah, you're right. God, these guys are terrible at their jobs.
Like, what are you guys doing here? He's not supposed to leave. You guys know this, right? He's a battery.
Also, it kind of retroactively, I just realized this whole thing with Neo being the chosen one retroactively hurts the first movie because it basically implies, oh, he was always meant to be the chosen one and always meant to be the big one that was going to affect everything in the Matrix. Why is he just a random drone amongst all the rest of them if he's this important?
Oh, no, yeah, retroactively, the flare...
It really hurts that first one.
Retroactively, the flare of anybody could have become the one if they believed in themselves...
Nope.
Is all yanked because now he's Jesus and
he is Jesus,
and that means he's special. And it's like, oh, damn it!
That was like the way that they wanted it to be back then. So like anybody, you believe in yourself, you can be anything you want to be.
Nope.
Listen, anybody can have the Force. All you have to do is really want it really bad, right? Isn't that what
Right.
they told us in The Last Jedi?
Yeah. Well, J.J. Abrams then said no.
What? Ooh, what about a Matrix film, a Matrix sequel, where Neo is sick with the idea that he's still in a Matrix, like basically the wife from Inception?
Oh yeah. What's
Mal.
that? What's that? What is that? That's a disorder. What is that called? God, when you're paranoid of your world around
Yeah.
you. What is that called?
Schizophrenia?
No, it's a specific mental disorder. What the fuck is it called?
While you're looking that up, I want to explore this pitch. I think it would be super fun if the conceit of the film is what if these all this shit attacking us in this sci-fi futurism world, what if all of that's fake anyways? Shouldn't we be trying to find another way out? And like they lose their leader in the middle of this rebellion. That's a really and what if he escapes back into the Matrix? What if he's like, oh, I can't find out from out here. I don't have any powers. I have powers in there. And so that's why it's like hard to get in contact with him in subsequent films if you want to make like Trinity and Morpheus and the crew like more main character across your movies. Have him fuck off like intellectually.
Right. I think you're right. You're onto something here. I think the way they should have finished this out was that we find out he is in another Matrix. So like he got pulled out and he's in this dystopian future, which is also a Matrix because the human brain needs to believe that that they're inside of something. So they go from Matrix to Matrix to Matrix, basically.
Yeah. I just found the disorder. It's called depersonalization derealization disorder.
Oh, wow.
So your symptoms of depersonalization, feelings that you're an outside observer of your own thoughts, feelings, your body, and of your body parts, as if you were floating above yourself. Feeling of being a robot, that you're not in control of your speech or movements. Sense that your body, legs, and or arms are disordered, enlarged, shrunken, and your head is wrapped in cotton. Emotional, physical numbness, and a sense that your memories lack emotion. Derealization,
Wow, that sucks.
Derealization, feelings of being alienated from or unfamiliar with your surroundings if you're living in a movie or a dream. Feeling emotionally disconnected from people you care about, as if separated by a wall of glass. Surroundings appear to be distorted, blurry, colorless, two-dimensional, or artificial. Distortions of perception of time and distortions of distance and size and shapes of objects. This sounds like The Matrix.
Yeah. It does,
What if this is
doesn't it?
what
That
Neo
odd.
was going through? It's like he's super paranoid the world is not real again. Because you lived in a Matrix that entire time, and it felt kind of the same as the real world. Maybe you could just feel like, well, this can't be real. It's like, how am I supposed to buy it this time?
That would have been a better character development for sure.
It gives him something to do for the movie that is very personal to him.
Like, what does he do in Matrix Reloaded?
Kick some butt.
That's,
He does kick some ass.
Like, but here's the problem though with that. Neo can't be killed.
So I forget.
The guy is God.
I forget where I heard this complaint. It might have been a friend that I was with at the time, or it might have been a critic later. I just remember somebody saying the blessing of Neo in the first film is he's always 5 minutes behind the plot. And the curse of the subsequent films is that he's always 5 minutes behind the plot. He's always he's always just not quite to the next thing. And like that's what you want out of a hero chasing, his ultimate character development. But like Shane's saying, if that's what he's doing in the next one too, where it's like, well, now I got to go save Trinity, and everything's about going to save Trinity, and then it get to the third movie, and it's like, I gotta save the world and Trinity. Now it's about saving the world and Trinity, and it's like, this is the same thing. We're just turning the volume up.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. And it does feel like the intensity is just turned up a bit.
The stakes just get a little higher each movie, and so I wish that Matrices followed suit. Maybe that it would feel in balance if that were the case.
Yeah, I think so. I think they just need to redo the entire story. I don't think there's a way to fix this, to be honest with you.
There's got to be a way to fix this.
Somebody needs to sit down and just write a new one. I mean, I don't. I mean, you could take some of the tropes and you could tighten it up probably and do that, but there's probably just a more interesting story here. The idea of using maybe, multiple matrices, or having, Neo. I really need Neo to have some sort of personality. He has no personality in the last two movies.
Well, everybody's so stiff in these movies. I think it's a problem with direction. I'm going to say it right now, the Wachowskis are not great at directing actors.
Good at visuals, good at new technology.
Just acting is not their strong suit. I'm sorry. Yeah. Every one of their movies, every single one, the acting is bad. All of them. I'm sorry. It just is. They're just not great at acting. It's just not their strong suit. They're more about visuals and philosophy and, and the action scenes, but they're just not great at directing actors. It's just, even the first movie, I would argue that there's a lot of bland dialogue.
And again, what is
true.
a charm in the first movie, because it allows you to copy paste yourself onto Neo. He's such a POV NPC, you know what I mean? Becomes its detriment later on, because it's like, well, now who's Neo as a person? Now that we've evolved since the first movie, there needs to be more person, right? Like he went from 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional. What now? 3 to 4-dimensional?
Well, yeah. What do you do when you turn him into a god? Like, where do you go from there?
Yeah.
Like how is he supposed to relate to things other than he seems like he's in a constant state of confusion, yet he's like the most powerful being there.
Yeah, that was even a joke when they would air this movie on this and Reloaded on TBS. The ads for the show would be, the greatest hero of all time is coming back to save the world, and the main character doesn't have a clue how to do it. That was a joke. Wow. How they would market the thing is that even the people that were promoting this were like, yeah, we don't know what the fuck he's supposed to do. Like, it's like, I think ultimately, if you're going to jump off of Reloaded, if Reloaded was just as its own thing, leaving it alone, jumping into this third one, I would jettison the train station stuff, and I'd have a flashback to Neo still in the Matrix, where he was still stuck in there as a drone in the office, and just seeing where he was then, and then coming up to where he is now in a coma. Like, just, you can't know where you're going until you know where you've been.
Yeah.
So that would give him a little more character stuff to be like, oh yeah, that is his growth. He did start out as just kind of like a nameless, faceless drone.
No, that'd be good. And then somehow find a way. I mean, I do think you need to somehow change the machines in some way. So we get to the end of the trilogy and the machines are no different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no really change other than they're forced to have some peace because Neo beat Agent Smith. It's like there's no realization, no empathy, wait, what are we doing here with these people? Which I think should have probably been the point.
Yeah, they established in the fourth film that the machines are beginning to infight with each other.
Yeah.
Like, why wasn't that here? Like, why aren't if there's programs inside the Matrix that are sympathetic to the plight of humanity inside the Matrix, why aren't there machines out in the real world that are also sympathetic to the plight of the humans underground?
Yes.
Where
exactly.
is that?
Should have been in the
and
third
that's
movie.
part of what I think they aim for in the fourth movie is that they're trying to make a case for the fact that these programs are in fact human consciousnesses. They're digital, but they are digital human consciousnesses. And so they want you to take on the stakes that these people being deleted is as bad as a human dying.
But I didn't get that. Did you?
No, exactly. That's the big misstep.
Yeah,
That's the
you're adding in your own shit, dude.
no. That's like within these like this like what is being asked within like the techno speak of the movie. This isn't like Star Trek where they're making up terms. They're using like single word ideas to represent huge ideologies underneath of it. But like specifically in the fourth one, the scene that I'm referencing is in the new Zion where they introduce the idea of the synthoids. That there's like a 5-minute lore dump there where like what you're being shown on screen is kind of like visual representation for the ideas of what they're aiming for, and those lore dumps are inaccessible for people who aren't like combing over all the other material to make sense
Right.
of it. Like it is demanding homework of you, not just asking it of you. It's demanding it.
It's almost like they expected in the last, 20 years, everybody went back and watched and looked at all, they played the games, read the comic books, watched the Animatrix, but maybe they didn't.
Well, and that's kind of the big battle of where IPs are right now is, are you chasing the super fans or are you chasing the broad fans? Because you'll never please both. Right. And sometimes you'll please the super fans so much that it'll please the overall fans as well. But even that's an even harder shot in the dark. A shot in the dark is what it feels like.
Well, you see it with Disney now. Like if you go watch, Quantumania, which just came out, if you didn't watch the Loki miniseries, then you're a little lost as to who Kane is. Or Kang. So, you almost have to do these multiple mediums in order to keep up with the story. And not everybody is watching Disney Plus, so.
Right. Yeah. What about a to do like a dive off from the original Matrix that isn't these two films? What about the idea that destabilizing the robots is risky, and that like Neo may need to keep the Matrix going as his new thing to do within a film because of all of the minds contained within, evacuating them out of a collapsing Matrix, that the choices from his movie.
Because technically the humans are dependent on the machines to feed them and to keep them housed.
Right.
So if you shut down the Matrix, you effectively kill these people.
Right.
So,
and they're getting dumped out onto that cold, dark earth of the future.
And realizing, oh, shit.
like
that would be terrifying.
If you just take the Matrix on its face value, let's say we do jettison the burden of philosophy and just say, let's just take this on face value. All right, you're fucking Superman in the dying Matrix now, homie. What's that about? Like, are you still a hero if given all the power? And now, like the idea that these people are the ethical decision, that's a Superman movie disguised as a Matrix film. That sounds dope to me because the final shots of the first Matrix are him as Superman. That's the promise. The promise of his character is he has now ascended into godhood. His spirituality is raised. He's Superman. And so now I'm like, do a Superman movie.
Yeah, that makes sense because you need to balance out because the machines are set up as being this entity that cannot be stopped. So you need a Superman in order to balance it or to defeat them possibly. And
Right.
you're right. I think it kind of gets away from that when you go into the next film. They've almost. This is why when you're making it, when you decide to do a trilogy after you do the first one, you got to be really careful. Because
Yeah.
they almost made it. I think what would have been great is if I like the idea of what you said about maybe everybody gets dumped from the Matrix, but then people say, well, screw that, I want back in, kind of like we did in the first movie. And then we end up
Yeah.
with a group of bad guys, I guess, so to speak, who are on the side of the machines, right? And then you have some good machines on the side of the Zion people. And then the battle is really between these two entities. And then we give a voice and a face to the machine side that's human, perhaps.
Yeah, I love that. I had an idea of let's say you get out of the Matrix. What is to stop you from figuring out how they built the Matrix and building your own where you are, for all intents and purposes, God?
Well, that'd be interesting.
You could build a cult around that. You could build a fucking religion around. Like, hey, my religion is become God for real.
Right.
You could do this too.
I don't know. Like how if you dump a bunch of people out of the Matrix into that world and then say cope, and they all decide, oh, I'm just going to build my own little Matrix. You're not going to stop everybody, right?
That's true. Yeah. Then you would end up with factions, which would make the story at least more interesting.
Right.
There's a lot they could have done here that they didn't do.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of they just decided, let's just make it an action movie.
I mean, those were selling big at the time. I mean, I get, wanting to, make it bigger, better, action, romance, action, try to get everybody's butts in the theater. But, like we always say, tell a good story, have good characters, and we'll show up.
Yeah.
Hey, Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Again, that's all it takes. Just good characters. That's all it takes, Yeah. So, can I bring up one other thing with regards to the battle in Zion?
Oh, totally.
So two things. One, why do the APUs not have canopies? That's pretty fucking stupid. That would really
Well
help you
said.
guys.
Well said.
That would really help. Number two, if the EMP devices are the things that could stop these machines dead in their tracks, why don't you have like 10 of those things like surrounding Zion?
Yeah.
Why are these mechs the only thing that you have to defend your place?
It doesn't make any sense. They have technology.
Nope.
They've created anti-gravitational spaceships.
Yeah, you've created literal spaceships, and you can't create an EMP bomb.
That's weird. Good call.
Yeah, it's called deterrent, nuclear deterrent.
Well, then they wouldn't get in, and we wouldn't have a story. Come on,
Yeah, because the movie needed
Well,
to
and
happen.
I think too, the movies aren't super interested in showing you the like, oh, the robots are only above ground, humans are only below ground. Like, it's not interested in making things black and white like that.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't really understand where they are, do you?
No, geographically, who the fuck knows?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Hey, I just realized. So why did the machines just randomly just start digging one day? Like, what was the catalyst for them to be like, oh, let's go attack Zion now? What was the catalyst?
That's what they do every cycle. I don't know.
But what was the thing that that started it up? Like, what was it? They know where the human city is. Why now?
The one is free, maybe? They don't. You're right. They don't really explain that.
They never do.
No. Like, it's just they're coming.
Again, this should have been just one movie, guys.
Yeah, it really should have been. Yeah.
A
Yeah,
one and
I'm
done.
shocked they stayed on the planet, if I'm being honest.
They
There's no point. You're right.
You spent all that time building that machine city, and you couldn't build a fucking weather machine to clean up the sky, so you
Right.
wouldn't even need humans anymore.
Yes, that moment where Neo's blind and
And they fly through the
they
clouds.
fly through the clouds, and she's like beautiful, Just
It's like you can't get rid of that stuff. Oh, that reminds me. When I was watching this movie, the way those clouds look, it reminded me a lot of what that the ISS got that photograph of East Palestine.
Ooh.
That giant,
oh really?
circular dark cloud over the town. That
I haven't seen that one.
That was really kind of creepy to see.
Wild.
Oh.
For those that don't know, in East Palestine, the entire area is now destroyed thanks to the negligence of a massive chemical company. It's really
That's
bad.
Ohio, not overseas.
Yes, that's
the,
true.
The one in Ohio, not actual.
It's an important distinction to make. Some people are not aware.
Yes, there is a East Palestine in Ohio.
There's a Paris, Tennessee, baby.
And it's probably not as good as the actual Paris.
It's tiny. It's mini Paris. Well, yeah. I guess this is an embarrassment of riches. This is one of those embarrassment of riches episodes where we just kind of dig around and figure out that this is just a huge sandbox. I think it's time to pass out the IP. I think I would definitely take some games. Oh my God, the movie set up a game. Why was there not a game coming out in connection to it?
I thought there was. I mean, they launched a game the same day and time that they launched the third movie. They launched the game.
I thought I saw that there was an Unreal. I saw there was an Unreal Engine 5 video game in development that they had shown off.
Oh yeah, Matrix Awakening.
But that I don't think that ever released, or was that PC only?
I don't even know if that was even real now that I'm thinking about it, because I've heard nothing about it since.
Yeah, I'm shocked that there wasn't like a console game launch in tandem with a new movie. And again,
I don't know.
This is the kind of stuff that fucking Saints Row 4 is essentially The Matrix. Like these are fun games.
I think the problem is that like Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions, they really did burn a lot of goodwill.
Yeah.
Because right after, I think like a couple years after Revolutions came out, there was this big announcement that Sega was going to be having at E3. And what is it? It's the Matrix Online. It's an MMORPG. And the crowd just dissipated as soon as they saw it.
Oh, wow.
It was just like you could hear a pin drop. Everyone was just like, "That's it? Oh, fuck off." Yeah, and apparently that is canon to the entire series. It explains how Morpheus died and all that stuff. It's like there's all this explanations of how Neo survived.
So the video game is canon?
Yeah, the Matrix Online is a canon storyline.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's like, again, don't do that for your series.
No, we don't.
Well, okay, do that for your series, not for movie characters. Like when they start to tie in lore that we need to know in the movie and do it in the game, that's where it's like I can't do that. Do the side stories. Like I liked Jada Pinkett's character from Reloaded came from the video games. So like her character jumped up the stream, you know what I mean? And I love to see that kind of stuff happen because there was no need to explain her. Her character was in the mission needed for the movie. So she was already there. There was just originated in a video game. So all the new characters can kind of get tested out in that sense and then move up to meet Neo. And then even introduce that into the plot of these things itself.
That would have been good, yeah. I think they should continue. You know, it's funny you mentioned the games. Like, Matrix is perfect for an MMO.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think there's enough good ones out there. You know, if you go back to, like, World of Warcraft and stuff like that, what's the next big one? You know, Matrix would have been a great one for that.
Mm-hmm. Well, MMOs, like, having to pay to play it every month, everyone's kind of like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Well, now you got to pay to buy stuff, you know, to be competitive inside the game. Anyway,
that's what I'm saying. Fortnite's the big MMO right now because it has a canon storyline that you are following.
Yeah, you're right. Everyone sees Master Chief. It's the guy from Fortnite.
No, it's not.
Fortnite is a digital toy box. They're just collecting all of our shit to turn into a digital toy box and putting it all in there.
Oh, do you know the secret about Rise of Skywalker's connection to Fortnite, Shane?
Oh, no. There is.
Seth, tell him.
Oh, Christ. I'm so sorry. How did you feel about Rise of Skywalker before I do this?
Well, just to let you know, we created an entire video completely redoing The Rise of Skywalker so that it made
Hey,
sense.
so did we.
As did we. All right, so we're in good company.
So we're on the same page.
You would be interested to know then that the now infamously memed line, somehow Palpatine has returned. That line originates from Fortnite,
No.
that's where Palpatine returned and made his intergalactic hologram announcement of his return.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and it's canon. It's canon. And
Thanks, JJ.
Fortnite is Star Wars.
and again, please stop making me do fucking homework to watch movies.
Well,
I
don't
barely
play
want to watch
Fortnite,
movies
so I
to
don't know.
begin with.
My kids play Fortnite. I don't, so
Oh, they didn't tell you? They didn't relate the lore on to you?
my kids hate Star Wars. So they're like, that stuff's old, Dad. We don't like that stuff.
I get it. I get it.
Empire Strikes Back is the most boringest one. Let me very carefully explain how much of a fucking idiot you are.
Oh, boy.
God help us.
Well,
Oh, I've had
we,
it. I'm
we
done.
made it
I
to
haven't-
Star
I've had-
Wars from The Matrix, so maybe it's time to wrap it up.
It's time to wrap it up. Thank you, Shane. We appreciate this. This was fun.
I appreciate you guys having me on. It was fun. We don't
Yes.
get to cover stuff like this in general. We're pretty sci-fi. We're pretty much in a Star Trek lane right now, so it's really nice to break off one day and just talk about some movies. So thank you
A
guys.
change
Yeah,
of
with,
pace feels good. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, you're talking about Picard season 3 right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're all up in that stuff. Yeah, we've got got some.
Season 2 burned any goodwill for me, so I was like, nope, I'm done.
No, it's true. We were not fans of Discovery. We weren't fans of Picard seasons 1 and 2. Now we were hopeful before each season. We were like, okay, well maybe this one will be good. We would come back and kind of be ready for it to be good. And then it was terrible. And then
Is it still bad?
so we had this really wonderful opportunity to see it back in November, Picard season 3. So we watched the entire thing in November, and we had the chance to go, to compare it. And when we went into it, because we were offered the chance to see it, and we said, listen, we may not like it, and if we don't like it, we're going to say we don't like it. And there's like, we just want to get your opinion. So, and we ended up loving it. It's the best Star Trek in 25 years.
Whoa.
So if you go back to Voyager season 5, that was the last. It's probably as good as going back that far.
Wow.
Yeah. So watch it if you guys get a chance. It's really good.
Can I just jump right in? Like, can I just skip right into it?
Yeah, you don't need to see Picard seasons 1 or 2 to get it.
Oh, thank God.
All you need to know is that. What do you need to know? That in the first season of Picard, Riker, we find out later on he and Deanna has a son
Okay.
that passed away.
That's right.
And so that's something that does come up in this season. And then also one of the only returning characters is Rafi. And all you need to know is that she had a drug problem at one time and is on the outs with her kid. But other than that, everything's fresh.
Wow.
Oh, good. So Data's kid doesn't come back?
Well, I won't tell you yet because we're only 3 episodes in. And we have not been introduced to the character that looks an awful lot like Data. But I will tell you that it is extraordinarily intriguing and makes you feel good watching Star Trek. If you're a legacy Star Trek fan, this is going to make you smile on the inside.
I have a feeling Lore is coming back.
I'm not saying nothing. It sure looks like
Yeah.
lore, though, doesn't it?
Yeah. I had a feeling.
We'll see.
Yeah. I have not liked a lot of Star Trek because Kurtzman has been involved,
yeah.
and Kurtzman is kind of an antagonist of our shows.
Yeah, well, he should be because he doesn't know Star Trek. So
He does no Star
He
Trek.
doesn't
there's no
care
writing.
to know. He doesn't care to know.
he doesn't care to know. You're right. We know a lot about
he
him.
actively does not like Star Trek lore.
He doesn't. He did 2000. He did the original Star Trek with JJ, the remake, and the reason why he did it was because they were all part of the same team. Robert Orsai was the guy who loved Star Trek.
Oh, wow.
Of that
Yeah.
team, it wasn't Kurtzman, and Kurtzman didn't even want to do the one with CBS. It was Brian Fuller who was doing the new streaming shows, and Kurtzman was there to assist. And when Fuller got fired, Kurtzman was the heir apparent, and he didn't really want the job. But listen, if you're going to offer millions of dollars, why not take it?
Money talks.
That's it.
Did you guys ever get into Below Decks?
Lower Decks. I
Lower
watched the
Decks.
first season of it, but I'm not into cartoons that much. I love South Park because it's philosophical and it's topical to what's happening now in culture. But I'm not big on animation typically, so I watched a little bit of it. But actually, Prodigy, the one that's made for little kids,
Yeah.
is the most Star Trek-like show that they have
Oh wow.
up until Picard season 3, because they still have the hope and the heart of Starfleet and
Yeah.
the Federation.
The Orville was feeding that into me for a long time. That
Yeah.
oh man, I need that old feeling, please.
Yes, and the Orville, they had a really good, really interesting season 3. We'll see if they come back with season 4. We're talking to some people about that now.
Ooh.
Yeah, it could happen.
All right.
Well, I think that kind of brings us to the end. So there's your recommendations for Star Trek.
Go watch Picard season 3, yes, and go sign the petition if you like it, so we get more.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you guys very, very much. This was a lot of fun. So Seth, anything you want to plug before we dip on out of here?
No, for us, you can just check out our link tree. It's at Jaguar Sharks. That has all of our information and links in there. Shane, what was the name of your podcast, and do you have any social media for it that people can follow?
Yeah, we are. We're the Popcast on YouTube. So I think if you go to popcast.co, that gives kind of all of our stuff. We also run the news site honestpopculture.com. So if you see articles coming from there, that's us. And you can catch us on social. We're at Popcast Guys. So me and my brother.
At Popcast Guys.
Yeah.
Got it.
That's it. Thank you guys for having me on.
Thank you for
Oh,
being
of
here.
course.
This was a great time.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. We'll try to get you back for next season when we have a whole new list of stuff that we want to go over.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. All right. And with that, good night. I was just thinking as I was walking upstairs that there was a. You guys ever heard of the series called Broken Saints?
No.
No.
This was years ago. It was a Flash series. Remember Flash?
Yeah.
This was a motion comic. It was 11 hours long.
Holy shit.
Done with Flash.
Oh, wow.
It's still up. It's still up. Oh my god, it's still up.
Oh, Fox bought it.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Oh. Let me see.
They bought it for DVD distribution. That's so cool.
Yeah, I had the DVDs actually. Is it still available?
That's wild.
It says the Flash is no longer supported. Oh, there it is. All the chapters are up on YouTube. Yep, everything is up. Yeah, right here. Everything's up on YouTube. Apparently, Flash is no longer supported. Obviously.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Anyways, so Broken Saints. What's the connection?
It's heavily inspired by The Matrix.
Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm. There was actually a lot of they did these little intros, and which one was the one where it was The Matrix? Oh god damn it! It was one of these, like they used an intro where it actually copied the music from The Matrix.
That's cool.
Yeah. 17.
I had a pitch for The Matrix years ago, where I thought it would have been cool if they would have, if The Matrix wasn't just a program, but was like a world bending idea, and that each movie they would like reveal that they're still inside of yet another Matrix, but when they break through into the next one, it's like a new philosophical universe they find out, where like it's like the Stoicism universe, or something like that, where they find out, because my thought was, if you're going to continue the series, continue the philosophies, and so like jump into a movie where like he has to learn Stoicism as his character development. to like complete the story. Ultimately, for him to discover what I thought the third movie should be was he should discover he's a character in a film, and him ending the movie in the last one is him escaping into our world.
That was what I thought was be a more
fourth
interesting pitch for how you do the fourth one, was have it open up and the main character is Keanu Reeves. It's just, he's Keanu Reeves, and he was an actor in a movie series called The Matrix, and then halfway through you realize, oh no, it's real. You are the chosen one.
Didn't they do something like that? Weren't they watching The Matrix in the fourth
Yeah.
movie?
Yeah, but it doesn't make any sense because they say, oh, it's a video game. No, it's a movie. Why is it a
Yeah.
game? Like, what? That never made sense to me. Why is it a Matrix game? Why is it not a Matrix trilogy film series? Like, why? That never made sense to me. I never understood why they say it's a game, because they never see any footage of the game. We
Right.
just see footage of the
I'm just
movies.
imagining like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas or something.
What, that sounds a lot like that awful movie that we talked about with Chip.
Oh, Serenity.
Oh God, that dog shit
Christ.
thing. Oh, stupid rudimentary graphics and shit.
Are you talking about the Firefly movie?
No, it was the other one. Oh, you don't
There's
know.
another Serenity.
Oh, you don't know. Oh,
So Matthew
look it
McConaughey
up.
did a movie in like 2019,
2018.
2018, called Serenity, where he finds out that he is a invented computer program that his autistic son created on a computer to like deal with his death, and it's awful. It's such a bad film. Oh my god.
Oh, I just pulled it up. Yeah.
It's in an episode of Film Rescue we did about 3 years ago. It is dog
like
shit.
not even worth the hate watch. It's less interesting to watch it unfold than to just hear me tell you about it.
Well, thanks for the warning.
It is so bad. Even if it's on sale, don't.
Just don't do it. It's funny. I usually like watching Matthew McConaughey movies, and he's also got what's her name in it. They've got some good Anne Hathaway.
The cast is
Diane
great.
Lane. I'm
Yeah,
surprised.
and like they're actually giving performances. Like they're not they don't believe that this is going to be a bad movie.
So was it just the story?
Oh, the
was
story's
bad?
awful. It's tonally just so bad. Oh, and not
Also, the trailer doesn't even hint that it's like he's a video game character. The trailer is like, oh, it's a murder mystery on an island.
it's a big ugly
No.
CGI reveal at the end. That's
It's a big bait and switch.
Oh, that's not
Yeah.
cool.
Nope.
gross.
No, if it's a bait and switch cool thing, then that's great.
No, it's bad. It's really, really bad. It's like it's like going to see a Brian De Palma movie and then you halfway through realize, wow, I'm watching a David Cronenberg movie. This is weird.